Hello there! Welcome to devlog number 2 for my game called Core. Core is a small mobile game where your only control is rotating these inner platforms, and your objective is to destroy these outer platforms. I didn't get much done this week for reasons that I'll get into later in the video, so I decided I should go into a bit more detail so that you guys can gain more out of these videos and I don't have that much to show. To start the week, I decided I should rework my code because it's ugly. There's references being passed around everywhere and it's just a mess. So I tried cleaning it up by storing my most used references in the game manager, but this is how that works.
Hey, Game Manager, can I get a
platform
reference?
Game Manager?
Yeah, I didn't know how to clean it up, so I went to the official Unity Discord and asked for suggestions. Someone told me to check out event systems, so I looked into that and learned how those worked. It took forever to get this functionality to work with event systems because I was trying to avoid having extra booleans and using update since I was already reworking my code to be cleaner. I even tried putting it in a coroutine, but finally buckled and put it in update, and now that's all good. That's only the tip of the iceberg though. In short, I fought with my code for 2 days, and by day 3 I had all of my main functionalities converted to event systems and working. But, yeah. Okay, so either I just wasn't using events as they're meant to be used, or events are just slow. Either way, I'm throwing event systems out of the window. I might revisit them later, but for now, I'll just deal with the ugly code. At this point in the day, I was just tired of dealing with code, so I opened up Ableton and started on some sounds for the game. I did already have some sounds made, but I didn't really like them, so I didn't show them in my last devlog, but here are those. And here are the new sounds. I don't have a use for all of these smaller sounds yet, but I like them because they all fit in the same style that I'm going for, so I'll try and find a use for them as I go. After that, I tried working on a little bit of art, but I just wasn't feeling it. It was just one of those days. The next day I changed the power-up spawner so that there's real rarities. I had already sort of half implemented rarities, but there was no differences in your chance of getting one rarity value over another. The way this works is the power-up spawner has a list of power-ups. Each power-up has a script which has a rarity value. I have a rarity select variable which spits out a random rarity and adds each power-up from the main list with that same rarity to this new list. And from there it just spawns a random power-up from that new list. The way that I fixed this and made it have real rarity is I just added a new variable which generates a random number between 1 and 100, and then with some if statements you can determine which rarity value to select, and from there it just goes through the old code. Then I decided to work on a few things that I've had in the back of my mind for a while now. I have this power-up called Golden Platforms which spawns these longer platforms outside the outer ring. I moved them to be on the outer ring, but now they overlapped with the objectives, making it hard to hit the objectives or just damn near impossible. So the way that I handle the distributions for the platforms is with rotate around. It just cycles through each platform in their corresponding list with a for loop and rotates it by 360 divided by the number of platforms times I. So by making the golden platform's parent a child of the outer platform's parent, rotating the parent object by 45 degrees, and then getting its Euler angle and subtracting that from this bit, I was able to get them to nestle nicely in between the objectives. After that is the controls. The controls aren't too great on mobile because your thumb gets in the way. On PC it's not that big of an issue, but yeah. So here's what I came up with. A little control wheel at the bottom which has the exact same controls as before, but now when you rotate the wheel, you're not going to be covering up what you're trying to look at with your finger. All I did for this is just move the rotate core code to be on the control wheel and added a new script for the inner ring to copy the control wheel's rotation. It felt a little weird on my PC, so I made a build, got it on my phone, and it was really bad. It was even worse than the old controls, so I just scrapped it. After that, I added 2 new power-ups. The first is double points, which currently does nothing because the scoring system is still based on the whole infinite scoring idea, but once I figure out how I'm gonna handle my scoring, then I'll go ahead and figure that out. And then the second is called refresh, which basically just sets all of the platform's health back to 6, which is their max value. Once that was in place, I added some particles and a little sound effect to the pickup of refresh. It's good enough for now, at least. I'll polish it up later. Then I did some balancing, which took forever because for some reason the mobile build was acting differently than it was in the editor. This was super annoying, so I did some searching, and you know how some games won't lag and instead the simulation just runs slower? That's what Unity does. I found out that the reason this is because the fixed update time has a variable speed, basically, so it will change based on how fast you can run the game. So I went in and changed the max fixed update time, and it's simple as that, right? Wrong. You also have to go in and limit the frame rate so that what you see in the editor is the same as in the build. Okay, finally. It's all fixed. Until about 10 minutes later, when Unity decided to throw a big ol' you at me. I don't even know what happened here, but the ball was moving super slowly. I used to have to change the mass and the bounciness of the ball to get the mobile build to act similarly to how it did in the editor, so I figured that was it and tweaked that setting, but it just didn't make any difference. Then I remembered I put a speed limit on the ball because the ball has a bounciness higher than 1, and after a few bounces that gets a little out of control. So I upped the limit to double what it was, and oh no. Okay, what about 20? No? Okay, back to 15 it is, and it works. I don't know either.
Of course. Why would you possibly think that changing a parameter and then changing it back wouldn't be the solution, you dummy?
You know what, Unity? I love you after all. Some feedback that I got a while ago is that it gets a little bit too hectic when you have multiple balls in the scene, which I kind of agree with. So, bada bing, bada boom. They don't collide anymore. By the way, you can do this here in the project settings, which I didn't know at the time. Then I started on some boring stuff. Menus. This button up at the top is the pause and play. I still need to make the pause and play sprite to put on there, but graphics aren't my main concern right now, so we'll deal with that later. The pause menu has a settings, main menu, an exit game button, and right now the only functional setting is the master volume. The main menu button doesn't do anything yet because I still don't have a main menu, and then after that I made it play some sounds when you pause and unpause. And that's it for the video. If you liked it, drop a like, subscribe if you want to see more. I mean, let's be honest, you should subscribe anyway. Just go ahead and click that button for me if you don't mind. And I'll see you in the next one.
Hey, Game Manager, can you ask Master Platform?
Game
Game Manager, you got any references to that good Kush?
Bye.